for,
And two, it gives our guys a chance to play in the back. You know, they get to switch up.
How do I turn it up? I clicked Wi-Fi for sound.
Mike's iPad,
I guess.
hit plus.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this.
Hit the screen. See what you get.
okay. Okay. I was just muting everybody.
Good.
We mute people when they come into the meeting because of the background noise. So just be careful when you're not speaking, just to have your microphones off. It's just going to help this meeting proceed without interruption. So hello, everyone. This is Chuck Tirone, the Reading Conservation Administrator, consistent with the government orders superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law and allow us to adhere to social distancing requirements during this COVID-19 crisis. This Town of Reading Conservation Commission meeting is being held virtually via Zoom for audio and video participation of the Conservation Commissioners, applicants, their representatives, and the public. During this meeting, myself or the chair will unmute commissioners, applicants, representatives, and members of the public individually as needed. During the conservation meeting, the chair will be the only one to permit the sharing of video. These controls are in place to ensure that tonight's meeting is safe and effective. At this time, Chair Moore will conduct a roll call vote to confirm that all members are present and that they can hear.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:07 p.m. And in order, please say your name. Brian.
Brian Bowe, Vice Chair, present.
John.
John Sullivan, member, present.
Andrew.
Andrew Driven, member, present.
And Martha Moore, Chair, present. Back to you, Chuck.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, and I will turn that recording on as soon as I'm finished with this script. That this meeting is being recorded. Also be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All of the material for this meeting is available on the Conservation Division site, and I recommend that commissioners, the public, follow the agenda as posted on the Town of Reading webpage unless otherwise noted. However, because this meeting is being conducted remotely, I advise applicants, in particular, that the Conservation Commission cannot discuss or consider documents which were not previously posted. Information may, however, be presented orally. Similarly, members of the public are encouraged to provide written public comment, but should understand that not all participants nor the commission members will be able to see any written comments during the course of this meeting. Before we get started on tonight's agenda, I'm going to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business to ensure that accurate minutes are taken. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. After commissioners make their remarks, and these remarks have been addressed by the applicant, the chair will afford the public comment as followed. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify themselves by name. Once the chair has a list of public commentators, the chair will call each one by name and afford them 4 minutes for comments. The applicants may be requested to respond to the by the chair. After public comment, the chair will once again go down the list of commissioners, inviting each one by name to provide further comment, question, or motion. Please hold off until your name is called. Finally, each vote taken during the course of this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote.
Okay. Our first item on the agenda is Zero Small Lane, and I understand they have asked.
Recording in progress.
They have asked to continue their hearing until December 14th. So could I have a motion to continue Zero Small Lane to December 14th?
I move to continue Zero Small Lane.
Sorry, John, go ahead.
I move to continue Zero Small Lane until December 14th.
Seconded by Brian.
Okay.
Brian,
And
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. So 4-0, we will continue that to December 14th. 550 West Street has also asked to continue. They would like to continue to October 26th. Can I have a
Well,
motion?
Brian Bowe make a motion to continue 550 West Street until October 26th.
John Sullivan seconds.
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, now we're ready for 385 Haverhill Street. I will read the blurb about that and Chuck can see if he can find the right people to allow into the meeting.
Sure. Before you start, can the people that are here for that meeting go to the reactions, but just raise your hand and I'll let you into the meeting. I see Mike's iPad and Ruth's iPad. Maybe that's them. I'm not sure.
Maybe Ruth doesn't know how to do the reaction button.
Yeah,
but why
let's just
don't you
let him
try
in. and
letting
see
Ruth in. Okay. All right, and I'm going to,
Ruth, are you here for 385 Haverhill Street?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, we're here.
Anyone else with you tonight? Is Mike?
Paul Costa and Michael Goslin.
No, that's on the screen that we haven't let in? Or you? Is
We're
that
all
everybody?
together,
We're
we're
all-
all
we're all here.
together in one house on one device.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
all right, I will read the blurb and then we can start the discussion of your proposal. Continue the public hearing on a request for determination of applicability filed by Paul Costa under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to construct a farmer's porch with a roof. The work will consist of removing the existing masonry, deck, stairs, and walkway. Excavators will dispose of the debris the same day. Install 5 precast spread footings and frame the deck with pressure-treated lumber. The width of the deck ranges from 6 feet wide to 8 feet wide by 20 feet long. The decking, AZEK, trim, and railings will be constructed out of PVC material. The roof will match the existing roof. No trees will be removed for this work. All of the work is within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under Projects by Year, Assessor's Map 41, Lot 47, RCC file number 2022-10. Okay, can you just give us a brief introduction to your project and what state you're in at this point?
My name's Paul Costa. I'm the general contractor. And at this point, we're not starting a job as of now because of what, of approval. And we might actually do it in the spring. We haven't decided on that yet. So we're just gonna take it as it comes.
Okay. All right. And the diagram that's up shows the new deck to be built. Are there any questions from the members of the Conservation Commission? And did anybody get a chance
Yeah.
to go out and look at this property? Brian?
Yeah, I did not go out there. I just looked at the various images and what have you. From my perspective, this seems pretty straightforward. Porch is in the front of the house, wetlands is fairly far towards the back. So my only question for you folks is, can you tell us a bit about what you're planning for erosion control? Because I don't see anything on the plan you submitted.
I don't think we're gonna do much disturbance as far as the surrounding area because there's a driveway there And it kind of encompasses that, and then there's some vegetation there. So, you know, when I say vegetation, just regular houseplants, you know?
Okay, so your thinking is that you don't need erosion control?
I don't think so, not from my recollection, but
And is that because it's fairly flat? So what's the driving?
Yes.
point of that?
yes, it is fine.
Okay, I'm all set, Martha. That's all I really was wondering about.
Okay. Andrew or John, do you have any questions?
Is the staging area for where all the equipment and materials are gonna be, is that just the driveway, or is it gonna be somewhere else?
As far as material for building, we might actually put some of it's there. And then, you know, and use it as we're going.
So none of it will be on the lawn or on
No.
the hillside or anything like that?
No. The
Okay.
worst case scenario, it could be on the driveway if, you know, but not on land, not on grass.
I think that's it for me, Martha.
Okay. Andrew, any questions from you?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I mean, how far are we from the wetlands by just an estimate? How close do you think the work gets to the wetlands? Seems pretty far.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a house between it, but I
Yeah,
believe that, 100 feet is here.
okay,
So it encompasses the whole,
the whole house.
yeah, the whole, well, a lot of where the farmer's porch is going.
Yeah, I think the house acts as erosion control from my point of view. And as long as all the staging and everything's happening up, as long as everything happens up front, basically, I think that's my only concern. Which seems like it should.
Yeah. Okay. My one thought is it looks like there's a little bit of a slope down there to the side of the driveway, I mean, of the garage. So,
If
you
any white,
wanna avoid getting into that area.
I got some in here.
Okay. Chuck, what do you have on this?
I think Paul, talked to Paul a couple of times about this project, and I think he's, he's, let us know pretty accurately about the terrain that's out there. Most of the work is in the front of the house. There's a large driveway that can be used as a storage area, and the grade's fairly flat. I still go out there and review the project prior to starting. So if it needs erosion control at that point, I'll ask to have it installed, but I'm comfortable with no erosion control and the staging either in the driveway or on the driveway or in the garage.
Okay. So in order to approve this project, we would want a negative motion for the request for determination of applicability. And a negative would mean you do not have to file a notice of intent and you could conduct the project when you're ready. So is there somebody on the board who's ready to make a motion?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion for a negative determination on 385 Havel Street.
This is Andy. I'll second that.
Brian Bowe in favor?
John Sullivan in favor?
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. All right. You're all set.
Thank
all
you.
right, thank you very much. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your help too, Chuck.
Oh, thanks, Paul. No problem. No problem.
You were patient, to say the least. All right, so that's good.
All right.
So the same way, I don't know if you want to give me a check, but I don't know, you know, not doing it for a few months, you know what I mean? I already pulled it out of my Fidelity account.
Okay. Our next item on the agenda is 87 Belmont Street. And who's here for 87 Belmont? Oh, I see a hand raised. Okay. All right. Okay, I think Halvard is here for 87 Belmont. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Jack Sullivan as well is with
Okay.
us.
So we should unmute Jack. All right, and I should read the blurb about 87 Belmont. Okay, thank you, Jack. All right. 87 Belmont Street, open the public hearing on a notice of intent filed by Halvard. My computer just decided to go on.
That wasn't bad, huh?
Okay.
Ooh, it's hot in here.
Somebody
Turn the heat
mute whoever's talking. Okay. Halvard and Tara Gudmundsson, pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1, the applicant proposes to construct an addition and outdoor terrace within the 200-foot riverfront area. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under the current project, Assessor's Map 28, Lot 112, DEP file number 270-0760. Okay. So can somebody present your project to us, please?
Sure, I'll do that. For the record, my name's Jack Sullivan. I'm owner of this Sullivan Engineering Group. And I just want to give a little bit of background on this property. This lot was created in 1967. Tara and Halvard became the owners in April of 2022. So they're recent owners of this property. There's a brook at the rear of the property, and that's a perennial brook. The bank flags were hung by Norse Environmental, and the entire site falls within the 200-foot riverfront area. On this plan, we show the 25-foot no disturbance buffer zone, the 35-foot no structure zone, and the 100-foot riparian buffer zone for reference. One thing to note, no trees are to be cut on this project. I show all the existing mature trees on this property. It's mostly a grassed area in the front, side, and rear of the house. What they're proposing to do is they're retaining a portion of the existing single-family structure. They're going to demo the existing garage, remove the driveway, and remove the front walkway and steps and platform to this property. What they're going to look to construct back, they're going to add on a garage addition to the house. There'll be a rear addition shown, and they're going to have a raised outdoor terrace off the back of the house. The new driveway will be reconfigured to meet the existing new garage, and there'll be a small walkway with some steps and a platform to access the new addition. As you can see from the plan, where the rear of the existing two-car garages is basically the extent of where the new addition will be. So it's very similar to the existing distance to the bank. And when I met with the owners, I said, you know, since you're within the riverfront, we're making alterations. We're going to have to provide some mitigation. There's various performance standards to meet when you're within the riverfront area. So as mitigation for mitigation measures, they're proposing a 1,000-gallon dry well to capture the roof runoff from the addition. And there's about 6 feet of separation, 6 to 7 feet of separation between the groundwater table and the ground surface from where I'm showing the dry well. We tried to place a dry well one of the higher elevations spots on this project. So there'll be sufficient separation to the groundwater table. And we also had the ability to provide enhancement plantings within the 25-foot no disturb zone. We're proposing a mix of 20 different shrubs to be planted and 1 3-inch caliper red maple to be planted. So you can see within the 25-foot zone, there are some mature trees. Now with the mix of the shrubs and this additional tree, it'll give a good vegetated buffer between the 25-foot buffer zone and the existing bank. The majority of this site, like I said, is grass. We tried to keep the limit of work as close to the proposed addition as possible. Very minor grade changes, just basically a slight transitional grade change to the rear of this project. And there'll be a 12-inch diameter mulch sock area for this project. We don't really see the need for a soil stockpile area. The garage will be a slab on grade. The addition in the back will be a full basement, but anything excavated will be trucked out immediately. And then, like I said, we're going to be matching the existing grades. And the net increase for this project in impervious surfaces is 491 square feet. So relatively small. It's not much of an additional increase. As Chuck, I think, stated, DEP did issue a file number, or maybe Martha said that in the beginning. The DEP did issue a file number for this project, and DEP had no comments. I'll turn it over to the commission for any questions they might have.
I'm thinking it would be good to actually have a site visit. I didn't get a chance to go out yet. And I could go tomorrow morning and take a look at it. I wonder whether other members of the commission would want to meet me there and have a site visit.
I would. I mean, we've got to pick a time, obviously, but I would.
I didn't get a chance to see it either, so yeah, it would be good to see tomorrow morning. Might be tough for me though,
Okay.
but I could go at a different time if that's okay with the owners.
I was thinking 8:30 tomorrow, but is there a better time that would work better for you?
No, I could do that.
If it's tomorrow, I could do like 10:30. Otherwise, a different day.
We're available tomorrow morning to meet with anyone if so requested.
All right, I could do 10:30. What about John and Chuck? Would that work for you guys?
I'm in the office all day tomorrow, so I can't be out anywhere until it'll be much later in the day.
Okay,
But I can do a drive-by if you guys want to go tomorrow.
10:30 would be fine with me.
okay. I could make it at 10:30 tomorrow.
Thanks.
Okay. So if we're planning to go for a site visit tomorrow, are there any questions people have tonight, or do you want to hold your questions until after we've had a chance to see it?
I'd like to hold mine if I can.
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just ask a quick question. So I appreciate all the information that you've gone over here, Jack. So it sounds like you're trying to submit this as a redevelopment in a riverfront area.
Right, and that's why I called out, it's based on the when this lot was created, so it predates, the riverfront standards, but as such, they're allowed to alter, 5,000 square feet or 10% of the land area. So that's basically what we're looking to do. In fact, it's almost like a redevelopment. You can see the extent of the new construction basically matches the existing construction.
Yeah, it sounds like it's following a redevelopment, which in the redevelopment regulations, it's at 10%. It's not 5,000 square feet of the lot area. So I just want to get some numbers straight. So it looks like the lot area is 21,400 square feet. Is that roughly, is that right?
Yep, that's roughly right. Yep.
And so 10% would be like 2,150, 2,200 square feet. Technically, that's the limit, right? Not the limit, but that's the number you want to see, 2,200 square feet of impervious.
I
Which
think,
is-
I think it's 10% or 5,000 square feet, whichever is greater, since it predates the riverfront.
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure from a different project we're dealing with that it's 10%.
Okay, I'll
But-
check that as well.
But the point is, so it looks to me, just running through some, and these are just rough numbers, and also we'll go to visit it soon, but the existing is already 2,500 square feet and the proposal will be 3,000. So we're over by about 1,000. But from one way to mitigate that would be the plantings. So I just want some numbers for when we are going to visit, and when you come back to the next meeting, it'd be good to have these numbers. And how much of that backyard would we consider mitigation? So roughly it's about 100 feet by 25 feet. So you've got about 2,500 square feet roughly of mitigation. So I think all is going to work out, right? Because it's mitigation is technically 2 to 1. Whereas if you restore it, it would be 1 to 1 for the regulations. So if you're over by 1,000 square feet, we'd expect roughly 2,000 square feet of mitigation. Seems like you're proposing 2,500. All these numbers, of course, need to be confirmed, and we'll talk through in more detail. But these just, if you could get those numbers when we talk next, that would be great. But it seems like it's all from the high level look adding up.
Yeah. Jack, that's 10.5, 10.5.8.5E that Andy's
Thanks.
talking about. It is 10%. And then if you're over that 10%, you have to mitigate or restore. Restore is 1 to 1, mitigate is 2 to 1. And if you just think back what Andy just said, that's why it seems at a high level that this works.
Okay, thanks. Don't mind me. I have COVID, so I'm working through it.
I see. I'm sorry.
You're awesome. Are there any other questions just to keep rolling, Andy, and or any other
No,
members?
that's it for now. But thanks for telling me getting the regulations out there.
Yeah, it wasn't the 5,000 square feet. That was correct. Doesn't mention that in redevelopment.
Okay, so it sounds like we should ask the,
No, I wanted to ask some questions. Sorry.
okay, sorry.
Hands raised. So Jack, I was just wondering if you could just quickly give me a better understanding of this outdoor terrace.
Yeah.
Is it on the ground, sonotubes? Is it open slotted decking? Just a little bit more about it.
Albert or Tara, would you know the answer to that question?
Are you asking about what the material is for the deck?
So the architecturals, we didn't get with this. So I was just wondering if the decking had gaps in between it, if it was going to be built on the ground, or if it was raised above ground level and you were going to use sonotubes or footings to support it. And then that's really it. Those would probably help for now.
It will be above ground. It will be raised, specifically what type of footing, whether there are sonotubes or other footings is to be determined.
But it's not going to be like a foundation, like a poured foundation continuous in that area. Okay.
No, not at all. It will be.
I imagine sonotubes.
Yeah, I'll imagine the sonotubes to pour structural integrity, but nothing more than that. In terms of decking, it will be, the standard type of decking with planks with, minor gaps in between.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't visualize where that was.
Understood.
If it was on the ground, but I see the stairs, so I didn't know, like if each stair is a foot and you have 5 there, it's 5 feet off the ground, something, I don't know. But
It's a slider right off of the kitchen that walks out into that deck.
okay.
It'll be approximately 3 feet off the ground.
that was all I had, just to understand that a little bit better. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a little confusing calling it a terrace, because when I think of a terrace, I think of stone on ground rather than a raised deck made of wood. So thank you for explaining that. Okay, anybody else on the commission have questions? And I forgot to ask for the last project, but is there anybody who's in the audience who had a question and we have not asked, given you a chance to speak yet? If so, please use the reaction button and the raise hand function. Okay, I don't see anybody.
Yep, seeing none.
Okay, so would it be all right if we vote to continue until the next hearing? And that's a question for the applicant. Until the next meeting, which would be
26th.
Yeah, October 26th.
Sure.
Yeah, we're okay with that, so that you guys can all have the site walk, and then on the 26th, hopefully we can answer the questions and hopefully wrap this up.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. So can I have a motion to continue 87 Belmont Street until October 26th?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to continue 87 Belmont until October 26th.
This is
This is
John, I'll
Andy.
second.
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, all right. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10:30 and then again on October 26th.
Okay, thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
I hope you get better soon, Jack.
Me too. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Jack. Feel better.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, our next hearing is 62 Range Road, and I think Bob Ward is here. I'll read the blurb. Open the public hearing on a notice of intent filed by Reading Rifle and Revolver Club, Robert Ward, pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to construct a 60-foot by 60-foot slab on grade addition to the main clubhouse. 4 trees will be removed as part of this project. As mitigation for the work, the applicant proposes to infiltrate the roof runoff and plant 4 native trees within the 100-foot buffer zone. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under the current project, Assessor's Map 41, Lot 1, comma 4, DEP file number 270 dash, and I guess we don't have a file number yet.
I'll check on that while you're talking.
Okay. All right. So have we let Bob in yet? We have not
Bob,
let.
Yeah, you can unmute Bob and you can start your screen video.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
there you
Hey.
go. Hey, Bob.
Hi.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put the plan on the screen and you can describe your project for us.
Okay, yeah, the scope of the project is a 60 by 60 addition to the southwest corner of our clubhouse. And the reason being, we've seen an uptick in membership here at the club over the last like 10, 15 years, which also includes an uptick of junior shooters and the popularity of air rifle shooting. And that's what this range, with this proposal is aimed at, creating an air rifle range for our junior programs. The drawings are pretty cut and dry, I think. But basically that is pretty much it.
Yes, I understand it. This is a slab on grade.
Yeah,
And
yeah, slab on grade. And also the 4 trees are gonna be taken out of there. We discussed that today, and everybody on the board seems to be satisfied with going with the red maple trees we want to put out in the back that we discussed earlier today.
sure. And you've installed or you have proposed some infiltration for the roof runoff on this side right here.
Yes, yep.
So, and some of this project is going to happen on existing pavement area. So, what's here is,
We
yeah.
are gonna lose a bit of our parking lot, but I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal.
Mhm. And originally the trees were proposed out here on the
Yes.
entrance road.
Yes, yes, yeah.
But at our site visit today, it was a little shady there. And there's some good area way in back of this range here. They've agreed to plant 4 trees down range on the range. And
Yes.
yeah, that's pretty much I know, except to call out that it's 61 feet from wetland flag WD 13.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, Martha, any questions? I'm just throwing it back to you, Tech.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Brian and I went out there with Chuck today. So Brian, did you have any more questions or comments that haven't been brought up yet?
No, Chuck successfully stole all our thunder. But the one thing I'll note about the 61 feet, I did see that. The upside of that, though, is the 61 feet to an area that's already disturbed with the parking lot and the dumpster area to the left of it and everything. So while it is shorter than we like, it's not pristine by any means. So given that, no, I'm all set, and back to you, Martha.
Okay. The one question I had on the plan was there's a diagonal line that goes right through that 60 by 60 shed labeled OHW, which we think must be overhead wire. And we don't see any overhead wires existing. And so we're wondering what's going on with that overhead wire, if that's what it is. So that might be just something that you could work on with Chuck. It doesn't need to be answered tonight at the meeting, but just a curiosity.
Okay, it looks like it might be in the same line of when years ago, the line from Havel Street came in that direction. Maybe it's left over from a previous print. I don't know. I really have no answer for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And we did notice that there was one large dead tree not far from wetland flag 1015. Yeah, somewhere in that general area. So I don't know if you're planning to keep that tree or if you're worried about that dead tree, but you might think about when you're having the other 3 trees taken down, it makes sense to deal with that one if you're going to at the same time.
Yes, yes, that's definitely something we have to address.
Yeah, but rather than bringing a crane in 2 separate occasions. And I think you run that one by Chuck. It doesn't need to be approved on this proposal. But you might talk about it with him before you bring your crane in.
Sure, okay.
All right. Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. I assume the construction entrance is going to be the driveway. And are you planning to do any erosion control between the construction and the wetland?
Well, we have that trough that we're going to create to take care of the runoff of this the roof on the new addition.
I'm thinking more erosion control during the construction, maybe on the wetland side of the trough. That's just something I don't see, and it's usually shown on the plan. And there's also usually a discussion of whether there's going to be a soil stockpile if you're going to do any digging and pile up the dirt is there a place you're planning to put that soil while you're doing your construction?
Yeah, we do have an area out of 300 yards. We did that also when we were building the added range, which we did last year, the year before. We stockpiled some dirt out there at that point, yes.
Would that be visible on this plan or is that further away?
No, that's further away.
Okay.
It's actually, the road is actually right across from where the new addition is going. That's the road out to 300 yards. So, yes, it is right there. Yeah, it's a short drive out there to where we can stockpile some dirt for the time being.
And is there a wetland out that driveway or is it upland?
It's actually further in that driveway. Yeah, this is not shown on the plan, but if you keep driving further into the 300-yard parking lot, it's on the other side of the parking lot.
Yeah, there's a, so the 600-yard range has separate shooting areas, and there's an entrance to each one of them. But at this entrance here, I think there was a historic kind of like staging and, I don't know, piles of gravel. And I believe that that's the area where you're talking about, at least in that area. How long do you think the gravel will be there?
Well, this is just for the pad. Usually the pads are done pretty quick. They're going to go down, the 4 feet and then pour the concrete, and in due time, which will be very quickly, I'm sure, we'll bring that fill back to fill in where we need it to fill in. Fill in the voids that we've made by putting the pad in.
Yeah, I could just verify the stockpile area, and if it needs erosion control, I could do that when the project gets underway and I do my pre-activity meeting.
Okay.
But
So-
I've been there before on their other projects. I know where it is. It's just that it's not on this plan, so it's hard to visualize.
Okay. And anybody on the commission have any problem with Chuck working out erosion control with them as needed?
I'm only talking about the stockpile area. Erosion control should be installed, and we can decide on it tonight on this, on this plan.
Okay, so you're saying if they have to pile dirt up out at the 300 range, that you could work with them on the dirt stock.
Wetland. So it would be something like this that we would expect erosion control in.
Mhm.
Making sure there's enough room to work, Bob, but you want to have something like that in erosion control.
And usually we ask for 12-inch mulch socks, is that correct?
Yeah, on bigger projects, we ask for the mulch stock and silt fence.
So was
And
that what we're
with
looking
4
for?
feet of excavation, I think this would need the silt fence also.
Okay. All right. Okay, is there anybody on the commission that has any other concerns that haven't been brought up yet? Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go to the site, so I'm just working off the plan here, but we talked about stockpiling, but what about the staging area? Where will the materials be sitting until they need to get used?
We just went over that. They're gonna be stockpiled at 300 yards, which is not shown on the plan. So I
So they're
think
gonna be
Andrew's talking about like the lumber and things like that.
the materials to build the addition.
well, the lumber. This is gonna be an all steel building.
Okay, where will
There won't be any
steel?
lumber, brought on the site. As far, if you're talking about maybe the trees are gonna be taken off site too. Once they cut down.
When the truck drops off the steel where is the truck going to be putting the steel onto the site?
Well, we have a sizable parking lot, and I'm sure with the bad weather coming, it's gonna be put right close by to the project itself, I'm sure.
That's my assumption as well. So as long as it's not placed closer to the wetland and it's placed on the other side, I think there's not an issue. But I could see someone also putting it to the left of the addition, which would be to the anyhow, closer to the wetland, so I'd just rather it not. So if we could specify a general stockpiling area or staging area rather. Stockpiling is different lingo.
Can
think that
can
would
you
be
see the
fair.
screen, Bob?
Yes, I see the screen, yeah.
Is there something in this area here that works for the staging?
The
It's close
staging
to the
would be,
project.
right where your pencil is, yes, that'd be an ideal spot, right next to the project. Yeah,
Mhm.
there is something right there. There's actually an old target frame that we brought back from the impact area. Yeah, shoot. That's being taken out of there, and that will give us enough room to stockpile to build the addition.
Okay,
So the materials will be stored between the ramp into the front door of the existing building and the proposed addition.
Yes. Yes.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
yeah, just the other quick question I have is the trees that are being removed, what types of trees are those?
They're all
sorry.
maple.
All maples, okay. And then where did you propose, you said where they're being proposed on the plan, there's talk of putting them elsewhere?
Yeah,
Where
they're
was
gonna
the-
go right along this line here. Down here, right, Bob? It's like in the corner of this area here.
Yes, yes, exactly, right in that area. I think Martha pointed out there's more room further down, and that'd be ideal because they're a great looking tree, and they'll be in full view in that area that we discussed earlier.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, here's the back of the building. This is, everybody kind of shoots in that direction. What
Mhm.
just happened? Oh, here we go. In this direction. And when we did this, this area here, which is permitted by the Conservation Commission, they had planted some trees in this area 20 feet apart, and there's some more room down through here. And the thing about those trees, you have to be careful because this is a firing range. And when they get bigger, they're going to be a problem. So it's like, it's only certain areas where they can go on this side, but Bob says it'll work. So we're expecting to seeing 4 trees out there. So I hope that answered all those questions.
Yes, yeah, and that's all I have, thank you.
Okay. Is there any members of the general public that had come to this hearing that would like to make a comment? You can use your raise hand function under the reactions button at the bottom. Okay. All right, so this was a notice of intent. So is there a motion on whether to approve this motion of notice of
Hold-
intent? Oh,
Hold on.
Chuck,
I checked the website. There is no file number at this moment.
Okay.
So we're not expecting any comments, but typically you don't close if you don't have a file number. Just need DEP to review the plan and state any comments that they may or may not have. So we actually don't close at this moment. But Bob, I would suggest it's unusual that you don't have a file number by now. I would call DEP and make sure, just to make sure that you did send 2 things out. One was the complete packet to Wilmington, and the other thing was the check and the forms, kind of called the worksheets, that was sent to the lockbox in Boston. And when they receive that money, that's when they issue the file number and they review the project.
Okay. I shall do that.
So in the meantime, we need to continue.
Yes.
Can I have a motion for that?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to continue 62 Range Road till October 26.
This is John, I'll second.
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. All right, so Bob, we'll see you again in 2 weeks, assuming that your file number has been approved by then, and we'll be able to close the hearing at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, thank you, everybody.
252 Franklin Street. And Chuck, can you let people in while I read the blurb?
Sure thing.
Okay, 252 Franklin Street, open the public hearing on a request for determination of applicability filed by John Burns under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 1, Section 40, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw,
Losing you,
Section
Martha.
7.1. The applicant, oh, all right, let's try this. The applicant proposes to work within the buffer zone to construct a slightly larger house, 2,136 square feet in the same location as the pre-existing house. Within the rear yard, the applicant proposes to regrade and landscape loam and seeding or sodding to establish grass lawn areas or installation of other vegetative plantings. Work associated with utility installation and driveway paving will occur outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. All of the work is within the buffer zone to a bylaw bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under Projects by Year, Assessor's Map 51, Lot 45, RCC file number 2022-14.
Sure. Hi, Libby. You do have permission to turn on your video and turn on your own microphone. Hi.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Elizabeth Wallace, Hayes Engineering. I was anticipating that the applicant and builder, John Burns, was going to be on the call with me. I don't see him, but hopefully he'll sign on before the end of this hearing. As I said, this is a proposal for construction of a single-family house and related grading and landscaping.
Here, I'll put up the plan for you.
Excellent. Can we start with the Edward Farrell plan?
Oh, there's two plans?
There
Let
are
me
two
look for
plans.
that one.
That's okay, I can work with this.
Okay.
So this is a single family house lot. It was previously developed with a single family house and pool and associated items. The builder bought the property and started demolition of existing structures prior to being stopped by Chuck, who identified a wet area at the rear lot line. Chuck and I took a look at the lot, I being a wetland scientist who was hired to take a look at the wet area. Oh, that's the one, thank you. So on this plan, this Edward J. Farrell plan, you can see that there's a shed and a pool and what looks like two sheds, existing driveway, existing house. That was all demolished. And the builder was looking for a building sign off from the Conservation Commission, which is how we got into this. As I said, Chuck and I took a look at the rear line area and discovered that Norse Environmental had identified a 900 plus or minus square foot isolated wetland. That wetland would be regulated only under the Reading Wetlands Protection Bylaw. So my company, Hayes Engineering, went out and located the Norse flags, and we drew a 100-foot buffer zone, and it turns out that the foundation and most of the rear of the lot is 100-foot buffer zone to the wetland. The wetland itself is almost off the property, right where it says 80-foot deed is the area that we're talking about. So that puts most of the backyard within the 100-foot buffer zone. The foundation is in place, as I understand, but the backyard has not been graded yet. It is proposed to be a lawn. We are proposing mitigation in the form of planting a number of plants and trees, shrubs and trees in the 25-foot zone of natural vegetation. There's a total of 2 red maples, 5 arrowwoods, and 5 sweet pepper bushes in there that should provide wildlife habitat and shading. Right now it's open area. As I said, there was a previously developed lot. That area was previously lawn, so it will just be allowed to grow back on its own in addition to the planted vegetation. With that, I will hand it back to the Conservation Commission for any questions that I can answer.
Libby, I just wanted to add one more thing, and it's shown on the plans that you're proposing to install the granite bounds and the signs that we have at the Conservation Office.
Yes,
just
thank you.
to protect that area.
And erosion control, yeah.
Yeah, because the bounds are right here.
Great, thank you.
And the erosion control, sure.
Anybody who went out on a site visit and looked at this, do you have any comments you want to share? Brian.
Yeah, so I went out there with Andy. Actually, we're right on the heels of Martha, who beat us to it. So we looked around, we did find all the flags we needed to. We found 8A, 9A, and then 1 through 4A. So the front edges of it, if you will, they all look fine. It's obviously dry at the moment, not surprising given the summer. So it's hard to tell too much from that perspective. We didn't have an auger, so we were looking at the plants that were there and such. And so the flags seem okay. Let's see. So my first question, and I don't know if it's even in contention, is so this is an isolated wetland. Is that the idea?
Yes.
All right, and it's
Yeah, I have to say, I really wasn't involved in the delineation. Those are flags that were out there when Chuck and I went out to take a look.
Okay. And so nobody's arguing that it's 500 square feet, and so that's why it's under the Reading wetland regulations. So this is an RDA, correct? So this
Yes,
is,
sir. Yes.
this is to determine, you don't have to call me, sir, I'm Brian. So this is to determine whether or not we have jurisdiction over this. And given that most of the project, most of the foundation, the backyard is all within the 100-foot buffer, then it seems that it would be. What am I missing? Is there some reason why it wouldn't be in our jurisdiction?
I believe it is, and that's why we are before you this evening. The request for determination is actually for approval for the work, not only to determine whether it is or not. I truly believe that with that wetland there, it is indeed within the Reading Conservation Commission's jurisdiction.
So the idea is that we would issue a application, and with that, you would move forward with the work, not submitting an NOI or anything.
No, so if you wanted this project to move forward, you'd want to submit, give a negative determination. And what you're going to determine is just you have jurisdiction, jurisdiction in this area because of the work, but the work is unlikely to alter the resource area.
Okay.
The work, and you can move forward. The determination of applicability from DEP also allows you to put in a few conditions with that. I would just say that since the wetland has been professionally delineated, that we would accept the wetland line, as part of any motion that was made tonight.
Okay. Then I do have some additional questions. So when you were talking before, you were saying that in the back right-hand corner there, you would let it go back to what it is. What does that mean exactly? You mean go back to lawn, or just let it quote unquote grow wild?
Right now it's lawn and sort of a lawn gone wild. And I would propose that the grass back there keep up, be allowed to grow naturally, and we would plant the trees and shrubs to supplement that sort of meadow-like area.
So that's what I was getting at. So you would let the grass go, there'd be no mowing back there, that 25-foot buffer would be left alone.
Correct, that's the intention.
Okay. Yeah, that was the main thing that I was thinking about. So the other thing is I always prefer more trees than shrubs than bushes. You have any thoughts on that in this case?
There's really very little room for the trees. They're typically planted at least 30 feet apart. So there's very little room. The bushes that I picked are fairly large though. They grow up to 10 feet. So there'll be plenty of room for birds and other animals to find cover and shade and all.
Okay.
Also, there's this is right next to another house on the right, so we don't want to plant trees too close to their play yard.
On the right, you mean on the circle?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
just off the circle. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Martha. I'm all set.
Okay, Andrew or John? Andrew?
And John's in order if he wants to go first, if he has any questions.
Go ahead, Andy.
All right, thanks, John. So yeah, I was out visiting with Brian. I guess that was this weekend, and saw the house under construction with the new foundation and the delineation of the wetland. And I guess since you're a wetland scientist, I'm always curious when we have these small little isolated wetlands, because to me, this is really, it's important because it's adjacent to Kirchian Woods, which is behind it, correct? So it's being presented as this isolated little patch, but it's really part of something bigger. Would you agree?
As a matter of fact, Hayes Engineering did the engineering for Andrews Circle, the subdivision next door. And in fact, it is related to the Kirchian Woods area and the swamp on the other side of the subdivision. So yes, in a way it's connected, I would think.
Yeah.
There's a swale that goes, but was designed, the subdivision was designed with a swale between the circle and this particular lot. So it is connected by
Like
a stormwater swale. I imagine this is sort of part of it. I think in part also it's wet there from perhaps draining of the pool over the years. So to answer your question, yes, I believe that it's in some manner connected to the woods there.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really impact too much. I mean, so since you didn't delineate that particular area, I just have to ask, how do you feel about the way it's been delineated by Norse Environmental? Do you think it's drawn in a way that's covering the
my personal opinion, or my professional opinion too, is
professional
that
opinion?
it's a little high, but reasonable. I mean, I did see some wetland ferns and other wetland plants within there, so I believe it captured an area. I believe too that Chuck saw some water in there, so it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first went out there, that's what drew my attention to this area, that it was, seemed like there was, well, not seemed, there was standing water in it. And when I went back after a couple of months of not hearing from the developer, the water was gone, but clearly there was a depression in this area. So to me, it was worth investigating. But it
Yeah.
sounds like we just found more information out that when the cul-de-sac was put in before, 2-house cul-de-sac, there was a swale directing all the surface runoff into this property line, which drains into the Kirchian Woods. So there's enough water to need a swale to remove. This must just be a byproduct of that area prior to the swale, and the swale just didn't dry out this area either, or was connected.
Yeah, I think that it's connected in some way, but okay, that's all I have.
John, did you have any questions?
No, I think I'm okay.
All right. I have a couple of questions. One is that it's not shown on your plan, but when I was there for the site visit, I noticed there was a large balsam fir or similar tree in the backyard, maybe outside the 25-foot area. Are you planning to keep that tree, or is that planning to be removed?
It's my information that all trees will remain. It's it's a project where no trees will be removed, so.
Okay,
Yes, that will remain. I've been told that everything that was cleared is remains cleared and nothing more will be done.
okay. That's good to know. And then I'm just a little concerned that in the back beyond the lot line, there was quite a bit of garlic mustard. And I don't know about any other invasives. So I think it's important for the homeowners to understand that when they're allowing the back corner inside the 25-foot zone to return to native vegetation, that does not prevent them from pulling invasives if they have a chance to keep the invasives at bay in the back of their yard.
Okay, invasives control, yeah.
I think it's often misunderstood that you're not supposed to go in there and touch things at all, and you know there is a good seed bank of invasives in that back area, so they would want to be careful about invasives control in their corner there. I don't have any other questions. Are there any members of the public that are here that would like to comment on this? And they can use the reactions button and the raise hand feature under the reactions button in order to let us know they want to talk.
John Burns just got here.
Aha. That's your homeowner?
Yes, and builder, yes. He's
Okay.
the applicant, yeah.
Okay.
Well, he disappeared somewhere.
Yeah,
No.
John, if you want to unmute and say anything, we're pretty far along on this project already. But feel free.
Good. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm trying to
Sure,
get
we
on.
can hear you.
You're
Okay.
good.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry I got on here so late. I had an issue with my kids tonight and I wasn't able to make it. But I don't know if there's anything I don't know if there's anything I need to add to the to what Winnie's already presented at this point.
No, I think that we're moving right along. We're at the point where we're going to ask if there's any people attending tonight's meeting that would like to say or have some questions or say something about the project.
We don't seem to have any.
We don't seem to have anything. Yeah. So
All right. So if we're, oh, David Brown is thumbing up.
no, David. Sure, let's let David unmute and speak.
Hello, David. You're welcome to speak.
Hello, I'm trying to start the video, but I can't seem to.
There you go.
Oh, great. All right. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, it's good to see everybody. Thank you so much for putting in all the work tonight and before the meeting. I'm right across the street from the house, and I guess I'm a little curious about if there's any regulation about any sort of draining from a pool or any regulation about that. I just was hearing about the drainage issue. Possibly, I'm really new to all of this. This is my first time, so I'm very much a newbie. I'm just kind of curious and very new to this. So I'm just wondering.
Sure. I'll start and then Libby or John can add in. All that drainage from the pool and anything else that had happened from maybe the basement was eliminated when the new foundation went in. And I'm not sure what they have in place right now, but the pool doesn't exist anymore. So there will be no, maintenance, dewatering happening. Libby, anything else?
I believe all the drainage is going towards the back lot line rather than across the street. Like you said, the pool and all have been demolished and no longer exist. I don't believe there'll be any impact from drainage.
Do you-
the rest
So
of
what
the work-
drainage are you speaking of? Is that just sheet flow drainage from rain, from downspouts, or is there
Right,
a?
downspouts, yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean,
this
that would-
typical downspouts, I'm not sure there's going to be a like a French drain in the basement. But John, do you know anything about that? Is there any
We'll
other
have a per-
drainage?
We'll just have a perimeter drain around the foundation, and then just a sump pump, you know, a pit in the corner of the basement if it's necessary.
Yeah.
To hook up to in the future, but just, yeah, just a regular drain.
Okay. That's pretty typical on most houses, at least that we look at, because they're close to the wetlands. So is that discharge for this French drain on the side of the foundation, or is it out into the out into the yard somewhere?
If you know, if it's necessary to hook up, if there actually is water that collects in the you know, then it would drain out of the back of the house. But you know, as of right now, there haven't been any signs, you know, of any water in that area. But it'll be ready to go if it's necessary.
Yeah, so there's no piping to the back end of the property.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's what I was asking. Sure. David, do you have any other questions? Mr. Brown? Do you, oh. You're good.
Yeah,
I see
thank you.
thumbs up.
Sorry, I don't know these rules.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
great.
So actually, I do appreciate the buffer zone and the vegetation that you're offering up to create this buffer. So I just wanted to say thank you for doing all that work and looking into that.
Yep, that's what we do. Okay, all right, and I think we didn't have any other questions. So if that's, oh, Andrew?
Just, sorry for doing this, but one other question. I'm looking at the plan and it doesn't look like there's anything proposed in the backyard. Is there going to be a deck or a patio or anything back there?
So there's off the back of the house, there's a slider, so that we'll have a deck off the slider, and then the rest of the yard should just be grass leading up to that buffer, you know, that vegetation area in the back.
Okay.
Is that on this plan? We're gonna
It
need a
shows that
plan with,
porch. It shows the porch and the oh, that shows, yeah, it's not on the plan there, so it would be off the back side of the house.
we are going to need a plan with that on it.
Okay.
Just, yeah, so if you can get that to us, that'd be great. Because we
Sure.
would just want to know, you know, for the next project or for this project when we review it, that
Mhm.
that was approved.
Okay.
Yeah, so that the as-built matches what the plan is.
Do you know the dimensions of that, John, by any chance? So I can, because we, you know, the back of the house is in the buffer zone. And since the porches, we'd want to approve a porch at like 12 by 15, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that 12 by 15 would be a good, yeah, be a good number for that.
12 off the house and then 15 along the house.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, do we need to wait for that plan to come in, or can we have a motion for negative determination of applicability tonight and have him get you the plan later?
I feel like you could get me the plan. It seems like that would be pretty quick, right, John? You would be able to have that to me pretty quick. So you could just get me the plan, and when that comes in, I'll I'll issue the sign off on the building permit and then issue this. So sometime next week or even tomorrow would be great.
That'd be great. Yeah, thank you. I'll get it right over to you.
The only thing that I would like the commission to do is just think of the conditions that you might want on this project. You're allowed a couple from the DEP form. And we just want to make sure that the new owners know that there's a wetland in the backyard and the 25-foot markers are to remain in perpetuity. And we would like to establish the fact that those plants survive for at least the next 3 years.
Mhm. And I believe Ms. Wallace said that the balsam fir or similar that's in the backyard now is planning to remain.
Yes, everything that's there now would remain in the backyard the way it is right now.
Great.
Okay, great.
So Chuck, does that mean we can do a vote for a negative determination tonight, or do we need to continue?
No, I think that with those, you could close and issue with those conditions.
Okay. All right, can I have a motion to close?
Brian, you're muted.
This is still Brian, and I'll make a motion for a negative determination of applicability for
No, we're starting with a motion to close.
Well, then that's fine. I'll make a motion to close.
A second.
I think that was John Sullivan second.
Great.
I'll second. Yep.
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Now I'll take your other motion, Brian.
Okay, so I'll make a motion for a negative determination for 252 Franklin Street.
Can I add an amendment? This is Andy.
Sure.
Just close with a negative determination under the condition that we have a buffer zone and that there are markers delineating the 25-foot wetland area, and acknowledging that there'll be an approximately 200 square foot deck off the back of the house. Is that okay, Brian? My amendment.
So, question for you, Chuck. Is it time for us to add more conditions in the future, or they all need to be added by amendment like Andy just did?
Yeah, before you issue, you would want to discuss any conditions that you want. So as long as you made a motion and then you had a friendly amendment, anyone else wants to make a friendly amendment can do that right now, but not after we issue and close, which we've closed already, but not after we issue.
Okay. Then can I change my motion to include that the back corner will not be mowed, that it will be allowed to return to nature, and the homeowners will monitor invasives in that area?
Okay.
So does anybody need to second what that motion ended up being?
Somebody should second it, yes.
I'll second. John Sullivan.
Okay, shall we vote?
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, so you'll get that deck plan to Chuck and he can let you know anything else you need to provide him, and then I think you're all set.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I'm not asking for any more, but just verify it was no mow, monitor for invasives, 200-foot deck, granite bounds,
And the planting that's on their plan.
and then 3-year planting survivability.
In the buffer
Mhm.
zone, yeah.
Okay, okay.
All right. Okay, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you, John, Libby, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
you.
Thank you, Chuck, for all your help.
David, bye now.
Thank you, David. Okay, our next hearing is 39 Lila Lane. Do we have the people here for that?
Yeah, could you raise your hand if you're here for 39 Lila Lane?
I
Okay, yeah,
Oh, there we go. Thomas Fitzpatrick is raising their hand. I thought it was Lynch that lived at 39 Lila.
He does.
Tom's the contractor,
Aha,
or?
okay. All right, so let me read the blurb for 39 Lila Lane. Open the public hearing on a request for determination of applicability filed by James Lynch under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and or the Reading Wetland Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to cut, I believe it's 10 trees, and grind the stumps in place. All of the work is within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under Projects by Year, Assessors Map 56, Lot 34, RCC file number 2022-14. That's the same file number as the one right above it.
So I'll check that file number
Okay.
as we're discussing this project. Tom, is Jennifer with you? Is that?
She should be, yes.
Okay, I see her here. Okay. Okay,
Jenna, you
great.
there? Okay.
You can unmute and turn on your video, Jennifer, if you want. Okay, Tom, so I'm going to put up the plan and you can let us know species, what you know about the trees, where they're located, and some of your insight from being an arborist and a tree contractor.
Okay, so we did a map of his house is there. On the left side between the two houses, you have a row of 7 trees. One tree, it's dead, it's small. 2 of them are real spindly, tall, skinny trees with very little growth. And then there's 4 larger mature trees. He's mostly concerned about the larger mature trees there, but as pines grow into a grouping with their habitats, they protect each other and shelter each other. So on the left side of the house, we would like to remove the entire row of trees. I believe they were actually planted when the housing development was done. So that's on the left side of the house. Those stumps would be ground and cleaned up. Now, on the back left corner of the house, he has 2 really old 110-foot white pine trees. They're within about 35 feet of his stone wall. They're about 45 feet off his pool, and they're about 60 feet off the back corner of his house, as well as on the back right side of the lot, you have the same single white pine tree, symmetrical to the other 2 on the back left corner. Now, the ones in the back are the primary concern with the soft soil. You have a large acre area of a wetland with low vegetation, so the wind gusts are coming right across, and with the trees leaning towards his house, those are the biggest concern, and those are the closest ones to conservation. Now, those ones we don't necessarily have to grind the stumps. He'd just be happy because they're older, mature trees. and they're so tall. He's afraid that one of these days with the bad weather we've been having, he's gonna get some damage to his house. I mean, if you guys have some questions, I can help answer them as we go throughout. They are white pine trees, and we know the pine trees are the weakest of most of the species. They have shallow roots, and definitely being within a wet soil, pine trees are known to not necessarily break in half, but they'll rip right out of the ground. And if you look at it, the majority of them, the sun is pulling them towards his house, so they do have a good lean already. I did meet Chuck out there, and we did take measurements with his tape measure also.
Can you guys see the aerial photo?
No, we're just seeing the plot plan.
Okay, I got the aerial. Hold on a second. There you go. Here's the house. I think I got it. Or is this the house?
No, that's not it, Chuck. His driveway is on the right side of the house. If you to the right, the next. It's not it.
Hold on a second. Let's open this back up. Okay, here's the house. Here's the house, and I'll turn off the aerial. It makes it a little easier to check things out. And the wetland is unofficial. Wetland line is right there. So, we measured the wetland, and we know that all the trees are basically within the wetland line. So we just measure 100 feet back from that area. So here's the last tree right in here. So from here back, it's 100 feet.
Yeah, that very front tree on the left was like right at the edge, borderline. Yes.
Yeah, I want to just see what this looks like if I dropped right here.
Nope, that's not the right house.
I think it's this
It could
side.
be behind them.
On the other
Yep,
side,
it
yeah.
is. Yep.
That's the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
better.
So you
this
can see
tree-
the two big pines way in the back left, and then those two monsters back there. And then as with Chuck's pointing are the other trees on the left. I think that looks like a spruce, Chuck, in the front. The actual pines might be behind them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
so
one's a spruce in the front. I think the pines are behind that spruce. But
yeah, that
yeah,
one's
there
outside.
definitely is some tall pine trees there. And then the neighbor to the right, I mean, they did a larger project with the fencing and pine and tree removal. And the trees they removed were actually a little bit further back or right in line with the trees we have in question for the three furthest back. So
Yeah, so here's one of the trees, and looks like this is the other one that they wanted to take down in the
yeah,
back.
that's one of them, and then the other two are on the back left. Yes, correct.
Yeah, they're pretty
And then
close
the
to
other one,
Yeah.
the other cluster starts at like the back left corner of the house and comes to the front left corner within that area mainly.
Yeah, I went out and did a site visit, and I think maybe Brian and Andrew also did. Is that correct? John, did you get a chance to see it?
I was not able to make it out there.
All right. And just my impression was that when I spoke to Mr. Lynch, he was talking about the back left corner. There might have even been 3 trees further in the back, rather than only 2. Maybe
I
you're
mean,
counting one of the row as a tree in one of the ones that I thought was further back, you might have been counting in the row. It's a little hard to tell.
No, I mean, Chuck, you remember there was 2 big ones specifically in the back left. One might have been a double leader. So
Yeah, I
you-
think that's
you
what
might
it
have
was.
Classified it as 3, and then there was one big one in the right. There was a bigger oak tree back there, but I believe, was it an oak truck or a maple? But regardless, the deciduous trees were staying. It was just the coniferous trees we were going after.
Okay. And I noticed that along that wetland line, there seemed to be several small pine trees with grapevines growing over the top of them. And I don't know, I assume he's planning to leave those smaller pine trees along that
Yeah,
line?
nothing along the back is gonna be disturbed. We're gonna use a crane from his driveway, and it's only the 3 large trees. The only smaller pine trees that would come out would be on the left side. There was a dead pine tree that was smaller, and then there was 2 probably 6 to 8 inch DBH, but they were 30 to 40 feet tall pine trees. And then there was 4 that they were good size. They got to be 18 inches and above, I'd say. Chuck, you recall? That sounds about right.
Yeah, that does.
Okay. And does the homeowner have any sort of planting plan to replace these 10 trees that he's?
I mean, as of right now, we don't have any plan in the making. We wanted to get in front of you guys, and we had a short time window as of when I met with Chuck versus trying to make this meeting. So we wanted to submit paperwork for what we could and see what might you guys request and how we could potentially move forward. We assume that this is going to continue on to another meeting, so.
All right. Anybody else have any questions from the commission? Brian?
Yes. So besides the fact that they're pine trees, I know the one is dead on the left and the spindly one and everything, but is there any other signs of damage? Is there any sign of insect damage? When I was there with Andy, we didn't see any sawdust or anything like that. We didn't see any cracking in the notches. So is there any other characteristic you're concerned about besides the fact of the pine trees?
I mean, to be honest with you, you're absolutely correct. And I'm not going to try to lie or twist anything. There wasn't any signs of that. The biggest concern was the height, the soft soil with the shallow roots. And then, as you saw, it was a big open area with nothing behind it. So the wind gusts are going to sweep right through and push the trees towards his house because they're already leaning with the weight heading towards his house. So with those factors involved, that's what is making the decision that he would like to remove them.
So I assume Chuck talked with you or perhaps with the homeowner about the possibility of using the Reading tree policy, taking down fewer trees. Is that something you've discussed?
We have, but the problem is he's worried about it. And with doing the fewer trees, now you're making the pine trees more susceptible and more vulnerable. We tried to pick 4 different trees to do, and it wasn't working on how we wanted to do it with them grouped together. I mean, within the trees, like I said, as you take them out and you unfold the area, you're making the wind tunnel more susceptible to get to the other trees. So we figured it was.
How long has the homeowner lived here?
He built the house when the neighborhood was done back in the late 80s, early 90s.
So those pine trees have been there for quite some time. What is it that now is making him worried about trees that have been there the whole time the house has been there?
Well, I mean, they get bigger every year. I mean, pine trees put on substantial growth year after year, and as you see in the news, with all these storms coming through, people just start getting more and more worried. And next thing you know, you wake up in the middle of the night with a crash and you have a hole in your house. I
Okay,
mean,
so I'm about to pass this back to Martha soon. From my perspective, though, I certainly would have to see some replanting, a mitigation plan to make up for these, especially where you're talking about trees that you admit don't have any apparent damage right now. Yes, they may fall. We know how that works. But given that there's no apparent damage, I would certainly want to see a good replanting plan first.
no, we figured that, you know, there would be something. I mean, what I could also do is I could do a core sample, and they do that a lot of times in the woods in Maine and New Hampshire when they try to buy the trees on the acre, they'll do a core sample to see how the heartwood looks. And before the next meeting, I can drill it, do a core sample, and I can take a picture of it, so that can help determine also how it is, if there is any rot or if wood is solid, and that
So
could help give us a better understanding also.
So that, I guess what you and I at least are talking about is some kind of a plan for what the replantings might be. And you're suggesting you might bring some evidence of the status of the
Yeah,
trees.
yeah, not to say that they're rotten, or not to say that they aren't. You know, I mean, I haven't got that far. I wanted to bring this to your attention, what we would like to do. I wanted to get you guys out there to take a look at the site visit. And, you know, Lynch, out of all people, he's been within the construction industry his whole life, and he knows the damage trees can do when they come down. And I think that's what's been worrying him also, the more and
Okay.
more damage he sees.
So
But I'm
Brian-
not saying we oppose not to replant. You know, I mean, if there's guidelines that you'd like to do, I will present that to him, and we'll take all this into consideration to please everyone.
Thank you. And with that, Martha, back to you.
Okay, Andrew's had his hand up for a while. So Andrew, what did you have?
Just adding on to what Brian, so I visited the site with Brian over the weekend and saw the 7 trees along the side of the house, which are definitely more of a landscaping feature that was planted probably 40, 50 years ago. And then there are the 3 big guys in the back. If you could do a sample of those, I mean, I would be curious if they're healthy or not, because they seem healthy, but and the ground doesn't seem super soft to me. But more importantly, a replanting plan would definitely, like, what type of trees are we planting there to replace? Usually we have a 1-to-1 replacement policy, but those 7 are clustered, so you're gonna have a tough time getting 7 trees over there. And then, so the backyard, as Martha mentioned, had a lot of invasives. I think underneath those vines, I saw some buckthorn. So it would be great if we take down these trees, we could do some invasive management, and just in addition to any tree replacement that gets added to our discussion for next meeting rather.
Okay, we could definitely make a note. I don't think it'd be hard to go through and use a pair of loppers and sniff out some of the other invasive vegetation if that's what you guys would like. That's not a problem. Now for the planting, I can talk about this with Chuck, you know, privately, but I mean, there's not a lot of room within that area. We also talked about donating money to the tree foundation. So that might be a better route, because his property is pretty tight, especially if you've seen it. He has the pool back there, the wall, as well as the property lines are not too far apart from the houses.
John, did you have any, or Andrew, are you done?
No, yeah, I'm done, thanks.
John, did you have any questions or comments?
I think we've covered all of mine.
All right, I'm thinking that where the 7 pine trees are coming out, there certainly would then be room for some replanting there, either trees and or bushes, maybe some of each. And where you're taking out the big pines in the back, I don't know whether there's some replanting that can be done back there once the big pines are out, or whether it makes sense to do 10-foot snags for the purpose of habitat for woodpeckers and things like that. So those are just thoughts I have. I wanted.
Yeah,
to
we've done
let-
that before with Chuck. We've left them 10 feet high, and that actually might not be a bad idea instead of doing replanting on those tree behalf. You know, if we cut them 10 feet high, the fair should be out of them for those trees. I mean, those would never end up falling in our lifetime. You know, they'd be stronger than a telephone pole at that point. So if you guys prefer to cut the 3 back trees at a 10-foot high level, you know, that would be something I think would be great to attain. I also talked to Chuck about, you know, maybe topping them. But when we looked at taking the tops down, most of the live foliage is so high, if you try to take a third of the tree, which is what's permitted, you aren't going to have much foliage left. Remember, Chuck, we talked about potentially just trimming the tops off to get the weight out of there. But Chuck kind of seemed to think that if we're going to go that route, it might be better to, you know, take them down at that point, because there wasn't, again, much live foliage left.
Okay, Andrew, you have something else?
Yeah, I didn't finish my thought on the invasive species.
Sorry.
Just once you, no, it's not your fault, it's my fault. I think once you remove potentially the buckthorn, you might have more space for some tree planting. That was where I was going with that.
Mhm. Okay, along the back line of the wetland line.
Yeah, because that whole backyard is full of, it looks to me, is full of buckthorn. So I think if you got that removed, you'll have a lot of space for some additional
I
planting.
mean, let me ask you this. What would you personally like to see planted there, or in what sizes?
I mean, I think that's up to the homeowner. We like native, I'll just leave it generally open. I like seeing native plantings, whether it's a tree or a shrub.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I want to go back to him and present
Yeah.
this to him also. So you know, you guys all obviously would like to have plantings, which is understandable. Now, if I could give him an option now, you guys would like trees, shrubs, or just shrubs? I mean, I think a lot of times blueberry bushes were even a good planting, right, Chuck?
We've done blueberry bushes a lot. I think what we're looking at, and it sounds like we're coming back to the next meeting anyways, but you should talk it over with the homeowner, and maybe they have a landscaper that could suggest some plants out there. So the buckthorn needs to be pulled out of the ground, root and all, yep. And then so we have invasive removal, replanting, and then paying into the fund. I bet you some of those
Well,
or a
if
combination of
we're
those would work.
replanting, yeah, I was gonna say, if we're replanting, then he doesn't have to pay into it. If he pays into the fund, then he doesn't have to replant, right? Isn't it vice versa? Pretty much.
It's true. You'd have to pay in for each one of those trees that are removed.
And that's what, $250, I believe.
Yeah. Or you could plant, and let me back up a second. It's up to the Conservation Commission first off. They are going to, because this is not the tree policy and it's not simple. The commission
No, I
is going to be thinking of the
understand. They will
habitat. So
do-
they may say, look, although you could pay, and other people have done that, they might say, but we want some plants, we want some replacement plants. So we wanted, you know, they might condition at least 5 replacement plants somewhere on the property. And then removing the buckthorn is, it helps the environment. It's a good mitigation measure. So that should be counted for something. And then maybe they would say, something into the fund, or maybe that's the one they don't think about. But I think the buckthorn has certainly a price tag to it to remove all that and to make sure it doesn't come back in.
Now,
And then
how far
replanting in
back?
that area.
How
We'd
far
have to look
back
at
would you
that,
want?
or the landscaper would have to look at that. Obviously, you're not going to go right into the wetland, but
Yeah. All right. No, and then and I understand the replanting part, but I just I always thought it was one or the other, or if he wanted to, he could do half and half. Is that how it works? Or, I mean, I gotta present it to him, and I just gotta say, hey, it would probably benefit him just to plant because he's in construction. He could probably have someone do it cheaper than paying $250 a tree.
yeah.
But I just want to have all the details covered
Mhm.
when I talk to him, so he can either do a 50-50 split, or he could do all planting, or he could do all payment, donation of money. Is that, or, what would you guys prefer when I talk?
Well, they're going to say they would prefer a high quality replanting plan, or all the money, or all the invasives removal, but they're supposed to react to a presentation, not kind of give advice or direct your project. So I think that you should ask Mr. Lynch what he prefers. And you're
Okay.
looking at 10 trees or 20 shrubs if you replanted.
Okay.
You're looking at $2,500. I think there's some dead trees in there, but whatever the dead ones take out, $250 a tree. And the buckthorn removal would be mitigation. So I would think that would be, you would take a little bit off of the trees you had to plant, or the payment you made. So a combination of those, or those answers is what you need to ask. If he said, look, I want to make this look nice back here. I don't mind removing the buckthorn and doing some nice planting. No one says it has to be all trees. I mean, a landscaper could come in there and make that place look really nice with some native plants, and that would be the best thing that the Conservation Commission could hear. But you need to present the plan and find out,
Okay. Yeah, no,
what
he has
they think.
options. Jen, I assume you wrote all those down.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Just
no,
a
that's great.
quick comment. You keep talking about removing the buckthorn, but there's also a lot of, I think they're grapevines that are covering the pine trees, smaller pine trees in the back. So you might look at the vines that are damaging the trees. If you expose those trees, they might do very nicely. So invasives in general, not just buckthorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that gives me some homework to get to. And then when's your next meeting?
On the 26th.
Okay. So that gives us 2 weeks. So can we tentatively put us on the docket for that? And if we need to get an extension, then we can let you know.
Sure.
Okay.
So
And
with that,
you get your information into Chuck a week before the next meeting.
right.
So that
And
gives
Tom,
you.
if you want to, we can meet out there. And I'm not, I was assuming he had a landscaper. And if he does, that would be great to meet out there with a landscaper and just talk over. I could bring in what typically happens here in Reading, and you and the landscaper can talk about, what you're willing to do based on your conversations with the homeowner.
Yeah. Let me, this was a great first step. I mean, I might go back to him and he might say, you know what, it's not worth me touching those trees now, because, the original step was I had to talk with conservation. I met with you, Chuck. We met out there. The next step was to get the paperwork in. Now we got the feedback from the committee, and, we know what needs to be done to keep continuing the process. So let me present this all to Mr. Lynch. Once I have that presented, I'll follow back up with you with Chuck. We'll probably do another site visit if he wants to move forward. And if not, I'll follow up with you regardless and let you know.
Okay,
Sounds great. Okay.
so can I have a motion to continue this hearing on 39 Lila Lane to October 26th?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to continue 39 on the lane until October 26th.
This is John, I second.
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. All right, thank you very much. Our next hearing is 31 Harold Ave. Do we have anybody here representing 31 Harold Ave?
Yeah. Please use the reaction button to raise your hand so that we know that you're here. 31 Harold Ave. Seeing none, I know the attorney and
Rena?
from 16 Border Road and no one else is here. So let's continue that to our next meeting.
Brian, I'll make a motion to continue 31 Harold Ave till October 26th.
This is John, I second.
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay,
Great.
we're on old new business.
Yeah, let's skip all the way down to the Skivington request for a certificate of compliance because they're the only two people here at the meeting right now. So it's file number 2700687.
16 Border Road.
Yeah.
Okay, can we unmute them?
Yes.
Hello.
Hey, good evening. I'm David McBride, attorney Mr. Skiffington's attorney.
Yeah.
Again,
Katrina, you're on too if you want.
Hi again, everyone. This is Katrina. I am one of the homeowners.
Okay.
Sounds good. Hey, so so we did a site visit, and I did send Mr. Skiffington and Attorney McBride kind of the results of that email or that site visit, and they said that they're going to replace all the inkberry bushes, so that's not an issue anymore. And we talked about the trees that were highlighted on the plan, and just to move things forward, I suggested just making the donation into the tree fund. Didn't receive a reply, but I think that's where we are tonight, just trying to solve those 4 trees. Everything else about this project is homeowner related, about why they didn't use the back, why the other things are still standing, why. All that's for the homeowner for later, but for Mr. McBride, the question of those 4 trees. So with that, I'll turn it over to Martha.
Okay, so I guess when we looked at the plot plan, which maybe Chuck is working on bringing up, we noticed there were 4 trees on the plan that we didn't see when we went out to check on the as-built. And do you have any answer of what you propose about those 4 missing trees, Mr. McBride?
Yes, thank you. And I thought I had emailed Chuck back saying that my client did agree with a $1,000 contribution to the shade tree fund in lieu of the 4 trees. Quite frankly, he doesn't know why they're not, why you didn't see them, or he thinks they are there. But as Chuck indicated, he is willing to make that contribution. But he did plant 10 inkberry bushes on the site on October 5th, a week ago. So that has been addressed.
Mm-hmm. If you look at the as-built plan that's pulled up, there's a bunch of blue trees up near Route 93, but there are 4 black deciduous trees along very close to the house that don't seem to exist. And there are 4 trees closer to 93 that are shown in as black circles with a dot in the middle that we assume are represented by the 4 blue circles just above them. So those trees up there seem to, though they're not in exactly the place they're shown on the original plot plan, they certainly have been planted. But there's nothing where Chuck has got the little red circle. Those don't seem to have existed, and they're not shown on this as-built plan, and we certainly didn't see them when we were there.
Sure.
So the proposal is that the builder put in some money to the tree fund and we call it a day. Any comments from any members of the commission on that proposal?
I have a comment after the commissioners.
Okay, I don't see any comments from the commissioners. So Chuck, your turn.
So I would say that giving the, I guess the miscommunication and all the planting that had already happened here with Mr. Skiffington, who has planted a lot of trees for some of the mistakes that had happened. I suggest that the commission reduce the tree fund and just keep it at what a typical homeowner would, which would be capped at $500. That's my only suggestion. It just seems like with all this work, and then to buy all the inkberry bushes again, which probably just died because it was a tough winter, that maybe $500 would solve the situation and everyone would feel a little bit better about the project, and we could move on, issue the certificate of compliance and work with the homeowner on some of those dead trees.
Brian.
Question, what happens if those newly planted bushes also don't survive?
So the newly planted bushes would need to survive for, I said 3 years before, so it can be up to 3 years just to be established. I'm not sure why they're not surviving. Don't know the sprinkler patterns of anything that's happening out there on the site, but I think it would behoove the homeowner to ensure that those survive.
Right, so that becomes the homeowner's responsibility, not Mr. Skiffington.
So for us, for our regulations, it becomes the homeowner's responsibility once we sign off on the certificate of compliance. For the homeowner, they could work out some deal if there's such a deal to be worked out. That is what I've seen before. I just think that they would need to be watered.
Understood. Yeah, we've been watering them in the past 1 week since they've been replanted.
Good to hear.
Okay, I'm all set then, Martha.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, I think if Chuck feels a $500 payment to the tree fund is adequate, I have no objections to that. So is this something we need a motion for, or is this not something that needs a motion?
Oh, it needs motion because you would want to first approve the $500 if that's where the commission wants to go with that. And secondly, you're going to make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for this site.
Okay. All right, Andrew.
I just remember a comment from last meeting, Martha, about the granite stones being taller than we typically see. I don't know if we've got any, is that true, Chuck? I'm just really curious. Are they in the right height?
Well, you know, I've seen them installed all different heights. I wouldn't have, if someone talked to me, I would have said you could just have them 1 foot above grade, but I just find it inconsistent if we called that out and said they're installed incorrectly.
It's more for
Yeah, so if the new homeowners or any homeowners wants to say, hey, look, my kids keep running into this, what can we do? Typically, you can lower them in lawn areas. We lower them flush with the lawn. And, typically they're 1 foot above grade, but, I think that the commission could approve whatever they feel like. An inch, 5 inches, whatever. As long as they're 2 feet in the ground.
I guess that was my question was, are those really 2 feet in the ground if they're sticking up that far, or are they 6 inches in the ground and they're going to tip over?
No, I would assume that they came 6 feet.
Okay. So if they were originally 6 feet and 2 feet of them are in the ground, then I have no complaints. It's a odd landscaping design, but they certainly mark the bounds that we want to mark.
Yeah, they haven't fallen over yet, so it's not 6 inches in the ground. And if they do fall over, they have to be reinstalled because they're supposed to be there in perpetuity as the order of conditions states. The homeowner takes on responsibility for the order of conditions. So after you submit or agree to issue the certificate of compliance, that would be their responsibility if they fell over.
And if the homeowner wanted to replace one that fell over with a shorter one, they would have no problem doing that.
Or they could just dig it in better, dig them deeper. Yeah, no, that would be not a problem. The only requirement I know of is 2 feet in the ground. So
Okay.
the rest is up to the commission, and I typically say 1 foot above the ground. But I'm conscious of where they lie in the lot because of children and people walking around and the fact that they are a permanent structure.
Okay. So are there any other questions or comments about this before we accept the offer of $500 to the tree fund, before we vote on accepting that? Okay, can I have a motion?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to vote on accepting the $500 donation to the tree fund for Porter Road.
In lieu of
John?
planting the 4 trees, right?
Correct.
This is John. I'll second the motion.
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, the next motion would be to issue a certificate of compliance.
Did the homeowner have anything to add to the conversation?
Katrina, do you have any comments? Oh, I'll have to unmute you. Sorry. Now you can unmute if you want to.
Sorry, yeah, I muted myself because I had some background noise, but no further comments from me. That all sounds wonderful.
Okay.
Great.
All right. And I think Chuck had said you can work with him over what to do about dead trees on your property and things like that, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 16 Border Road? Did we get that motion already?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 16 Border Road.
This is John. I second.
Brian Bowe in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, thank you both for coming tonight.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. All right. So don't think after this anyone else will be at the meeting. And yep, Katrina left.
Yeah.
And there's no one in the waiting room. And it's 9:14. Anything you guys want to do for the next 45 minutes is acceptable. Outside of that, or we could even say the next 15 minutes, but so I want you to know, so I can start off with the first one on the old and new business. So I did talk to a National Grid environmental agent at that site, and she has agreed to plant trees along the entrance road, and only after what's happened. And does anyone not know what's happened over there? Maybe should I start from the beginning? Yeah, see Andy's shaking his head. So unfortunately for National Grid, Anika Scanlon works at 55 Walkersburg Drive, and she was looking out her window and she called me up and she said, "What the heck is going on over there? They're cutting trees down." And by the time I got over there, a good portion of the lot was cleared out, and it was completely, well, 1/3 of it was used and 2/3 was vegetated, whether it was, volunteer growth trees, I don't know, birch and maple and things like that, kind of spindly, but some of them were up to like, I don't know, 9-inch DBH. And they had cleared out a whole bunch. So I stopped them and I asked them what they were doing. And it sounded like the contractor had a different story than the consulting firm, which was Conoco Engineering, and Mike Toohill had told me that they're installing a fence and they may have to take out some trees to access the fence. And the contractor said, "We're installing a fence and we're removing all the trees." And National Grid said they're fence, moving all the trees, or moving some of the trees and installing a pad to put in a kind of like a water containment system. And so I said, "Whoa, wait a minute, guys. I was told that you're just putting in a fence and removing some trees, and that's what we approved under a minor project permit." So we stopped the project. I talked to National Grid a couple of times. There was a decision made on National Grid's behalf to bring in BSC to finish off this project. And the new project will be, for now, which we approved administratively and in consultation with the chair and vice chair, to redo what we originally thought was happening, which is to remove the fence and put in a new fence and create a 10-foot path for the construction vehicles to get between the fence and the interior of this lot to access like a workspace for that. And once that's in, they will submit a new plan for the rest of the work they want to do, and we'll see that in an RDA. And that most likely will be removing all the rest of the trees. Now they get limited work exemption and possibly some other things, limited project exemption, and possibly it's exempt work in the first place because this lot has a utility exemption for storage and whatnot, kind of has that designation. But I did want to talk to the consultants when they come to us to make sure that we understand that exemption and make sure that we agree that they can remove all the trees after letting them grow for so long, maybe 15 years. So they agreed to that. So this is a 2-part project now, the fence and the 10-foot path, and then coming back for the rest of the project. The pad and this chamber that's going to hold some sort of liquid was approved from the fire department. If anyone's looking at this at the aerial, there's a building that exists there. It's going to go right next to that building and what I consider previously disturbed area. And I approved that also, but I approved that like 3 months ago. And then they just combined these two projects. So it sounded like a much bigger project than the minor project permit. But after sifting through all the information, that's what's come up. The only other thing that I wanted to mention is that they had some break-ins and some camping going on in that wooded area in the back, which is quite dense because there's a railroad track right beyond the back end of the fence. And so it's Walkersburg Drive, so walking directly out, get to the fence, there's the railroad tracks. And so people have been breaking in, cutting into the fence, setting up camps and getting into the building and getting into some other things. And they wanted to start using this as a supply depot, and they couldn't have that. So they did bring up Homeland Security as part of the reasons why they needed to do this work. So we're going to hear all that coming up in the future. So I don't know if there's any other questions.
Not about that, but Chuck, you want to update everybody on the vegetative management plan?
Yeah, so me and Brian today finished the with Mike Hannaford and Chris Cole had gone over the entire integrated vegetative management plan by RMLD. And as you know, RMLD had been working to the chagrin of Mike Hannaford, and Mike Hannaford wanted them to not do any more work until this vegetative management plan was approved, not only by himself, but as you know, as what's been happening with us, with our good partners in the DPW, they wanted the Conservation Commission to be involved and to sign off also. The Conservation Commission has kind of a bigger bat than the DPW, and with our enforcement order and our threat to issue enforcement orders, they came to the table, and that might not be completely accurate, because I know that, and I forgot his name, Brian. Who's the engineer we're working with over there?
At RMLD?
Yes.
Hamid Jaffrey.
Hamid didn't know anything about it. He was completely surprised, and when he actually heard from Karen Herrick and some other people on the board that we were looking to talk to them about this invasive integrated vegetative management plan, he called me right up. We started to have meetings, and we've been proceeding ever since. So I don't know what the disconnect was, but there was certainly a disconnect there. So there was a meeting.
For a little correction, Hamid is actually the head of engineering for RMLD. He's not just an engineer, doesn't just play one on TV. He's the head of it.
So Hamid is the head of the engineering department. Anyways, he was great to talk to, and he understood what we wanted, and he didn't want to have any problems. And I think the one important question that he told me is that he asked his people, does this kind of stuff happen in any other town? And when they said no, he said, well, why is it happening here? And that was kind of the foundation we started to work off. So Hamid's a great guy, and he's really helping out. So there was a meeting at the RMLD, and then we took that integrated vegetative management plan and worked on it. 2 meetings without RMLD with Mike, Chris Cole, myself, and Brian. And we finished up all our edits today. It will be sent back to RMLD, and we'll have another plan. Hopefully it will approve this. But some of the things that were talked about was no herbicides will be used. And everyone remembers the Birch Meadow debacle when they went out to spray some poison ivy without anyone's permission next to the Abijona and spilt it. No one was alerted to that action. It doesn't look like there was any harm caused, because with the area where it spilled seems to like to have been contained within the roadway. And again, so we took out all of that information. They haven't looked at it yet. I don't know what the pushback's going to be. And then basically the rest of it is, anytime they do anything, it has to be approved by Mike Hannaford first. And Mike Hannaford will pass it on to us for our approval. Mike controls the streets and the street trees. The Conservation Commission will be involved only in private tree actions, which can include removal of the tree. Anything to add, Brian?
No, that's good. I mean, from my perspective, first time working with DPW like this, I think it was pretty cooperative. I think we kind of had the same goals. And I think we ended up getting there with only about 3 hours of conversation. But that's it.
Yeah. It was a lot of work, but it worked out. Everyone was trying to. Well, I think we've worked together so long. We knew what Mike wanted. We knew what we wanted. Mike knew it. Same thing. All right, moving on. 15 Carriage Lane. I asked the commission to go out there. The De Palmas have put in the pool. They're looking for an occupancy. They submitted a new plant list, and I approved the new plant list. And they're working with a landscape architect who actually someone on the Arlington Commission actually worked for. So I was happy to approve that plant list and recognize the name. So we're in good state over there, but I need some commissioner members because we're in this zone where I can't approve the occupancy. Commissioners have to allow me to approve the occupancy. So I don't know if anyone went over to 15 Carriage Lane.
I did.
Wants to do this now.
I went over there. Do you want an update or we just move towards giving you permission?
Well, you can tell us you think it's whatever you think. Yeah.
All right, so this is a place, a pretty narrow yard, put in a pool. There was a shed there that we asked them to move. They went further than that, they removed it, so that's gone. Play structure is still in place. I think last time we said that would be okay. There's erosion barriers that were put around it. 3 of the segments have been removed. I'd say it's a little bit premature because there's dirt around the base of the pool that still isn't vegetated, but the property is very flat, so I don't think there's any real risk of any erosion getting over to the wetlands. And there's a stone wall, an old stone wall that's built up between the property and the wetlands anyway, and a barrier to any erosion. They're talking about putting in some stairs. So previously there's a deck up high. They're putting in new stairs. So the old stairs that are being replaced faced away from the wetlands. Sort of the new ones, although the new ones come off the center of the deck rather than the far end of the deck. It's 5.5 feet difference, so it's essentially the same, and it goes away from the wetlands. So overall, I think they have done what we asked them to do. Slight variations, but I don't think anything meaningful.
I'm slow on the draw, but we can look at this real quick. So they can't ask to finish the project because they haven't finished the deck, and the planting obviously isn't in. And that's where we stand, but they want a occupancy for the pool so they can use it, and it seems like it's in the right location, so everything is good.
Yeah, I didn't measure everything, but I think it was 5 feet or so off of the property line. It looks about right. Everything smelled okay.
So 14, oh, wait a minute. With Brian seeing this site, does anyone want to make a motion to allow me to issue the occupancy permit for this, for the pool?
And we would come back later for a finished project certificate of compliance. Is that right?
Yeah, we still have the deck and the planting and the look back period on the planting, all that. So this is mostly a building department approval.
Can I have a motion for an occupancy for the pool? Certificate of occupancy?
Just allow me to sign off on the certificate of occupancy for the pool permit.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, just vote. That's what it says.
Right.
It says in the
Okay.
regulation.
So
Yeah.
is there a motion for that?
Hey, you guys want to change it? Fine with me, but I think it's important on bigger projects, though.
Andrew or John, I waiting for one of you guys to do it. I didn't want to be the one who visited and proposed the motion, so be my guest.
I'll make a motion to allow Chuck to sign a certificate of compliance. No.
Occupancy.
Occupancy, certificate of occupancy for 15 Carriage Lane.
This is John. I'll second the motion.
Sure.
All in favor?
John Sullivan.
Andrew Gibbon in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Okay.
All right.
The only other update is I wanted to give is 14 Dean Road. I let them know that if they just put sod down in that retaining wall area and an area between the fence and the top retaining wall, the Conservation Commission would sign off and say that sign off on the what is this thing called?
Enforcement
The
order.
Enforcement order. Thank you. Sign off on the enforcement order. And I kind of wrote a little bit. There's an attorney involved now. I haven't heard anything back, but I did send it at very late in the day. I know that homeowner said that would be fine. They have someone looking at it tomorrow, but I haven't heard that collectively from the homeowner and the attorney. So I think that it seems like that's a reasonable solution. I just want to remind you guys that on the 15th, there's the fall conference for MACC. And we should just get down to any of the minutes, at least discuss them. I think that it would be great if someone had picked up this meeting minutes because I still have to do the ones from the last meeting, haven't got to them yet. Maybe Andrew's still doing the ones from the meeting before. So I know that John is always at work and he probably pulls the lion's share over there. So Martha or Brian, can you do tonight's meeting minutes?
It was a pretty short meeting, Martha. I'll flip you for it.
I actually have some notes, but it would be better if you could do it. I don't know how soon I would get to tonight's meeting.
That's fine,
But
fair enough.
I'll
right,
be
thank you.
happy to take a photograph of my notes and send that to you to give you a place to start.
That's okay. I'll get it out of the recording anyway, so. be all set.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that.
I assume there aren't any minutes. I didn't get any to send out. So we're really at the end of the meeting unless the commissioners have something to discuss or questions.
Did we have any useful information we want to share from the DPW meeting earlier this month?
There wasn't much to talk about, except that that's when we decided to start these RMLD meetings. So everything else is running pretty smooth. People are getting into winter mode.
Yeah, the only other thing was a conversation about an erosion problem at the end of Hunt. And another one at the end of Hancock, I think it was.
Right. And I don't know if anyone has been down there. It's just a big, long road to a dirt path into the woods, and it's getting a lot of erosion. I've seen these before. I've never seen a solution, but the DPW said that they're going to throw some stones in there, 6-inch or greater, and the Trails Committee will reroute the trail around the stones, so you don't have to walk over the stones. I'm going to see if that works.
This is at Hunt.
It's at the end of Hunt Street. Yep.
I'm familiar with that, yeah.
Okay. I have a note here about getting some more signatures for orders of conditions. Brian and I signed a bunch of papers today, but maybe John and Andrew could find their way to town hall sometime and sign things for Chuck.
Yeah, what I could do is if you can't find your way to town hall tomorrow, or if one of you could, I would say take the packet and drop it off at the other person's house. And then I could either pick it up or I could get
We're
back to
doing
me
a
on
site
Monday.
visit tomorrow.
Oh,
right.
Who's going?
Andrew will be at the site visit tomorrow, and then he could drop them off for John after he signs them.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, it's just that I need the new group. Everything we've signed in the past doesn't really work because the members aren't the same. So.
And I will attest that nothing we signed today was a blank check for Chuck.
Okay.
Yeah, but you did sign the MAPC, so for Matera Cabin, we're asking for $42,000 and a grant from MAPC. And so that's a pretty good amount, and we're going to probably make that place, the top tiers, look a lot better. Pavilion, beehives, paths, ADA, well, close as we can get ADA in there.
Okay, so just a bit of logistics about the signatures. If you give Andrew a bunch of papers for him to sign and he passes them on to John, can John just put them in the mailbox in the driveway of the town hall with, if you put them in an envelope with your address back on and it'll get back to you? Or does John have to deliver them back in person when you're in the building?
No, John, you can just drop them off, just write conservation office on it, put it in an envelope, or I'll put it in an envelope and put conservation office on it. I'll set it up so you can just drop them in that mailbox. You know where it is? It's on the back parking lot, the way out.
Yep, I'm familiar.
All right, that means John doesn't have to try and get to town hall when it's open, which would be helpful. Okay, so maybe you'll have those Monday morning.
Yeah, and John, I can also pick it up at your house too. That's not a big deal. So whatever ends up happening.
I should be able to make it down there sometime
Okay.
Friday or over the weekend.
All right.
Are we good? Can I have a motion to adjourn at 9:36 PM, please?
Brian, I make a motion to adjourn at 9:36 PM.
Second?
Andy, I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
See you
bye,
all later.
everyone.
Good night.
Everyone.
Bye now.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.